Let me take you back about 15 years and tell you a story about little Vinny. He was the youngest of 3 boys, and his 2 older brothers were diagnosed with autism. As Vinny neared his first birthday, his mom was concerned because he didn't seem interested in her or really anyone. She desperately asked for our help. But 15 years ago, there weren't any definitive diagnostic procedures for a 1-year-old. See, a formal diagnosis requires clear behavioral evidence that likely wouldn't emerge in Vinny for another 6 months. We don't like waiting before taking action, so the best that we could do was rely on our impressions. We were all in agreement. Vinny might have autism. So then what? 15 years ago, we also didn't have any evidence-based treatment approaches for a child that young. Despite the uncertainty, we forged ahead and developed an intensive intervention to create more social learning opportunities for Vinny. We hoped that he would eventually begin to enjoy social interactions. We kept that treatment program for a while, but it was intensive for everyone involved, and we had no idea if it was working. It could have been a full year before we saw the effects of our efforts. Eventually, Vinny was officially diagnosed with autism and enrolled in an evidence-based treatment program. Just a few years ago, they came in to participate in one of our research projects, and I'm happy to report that the family was doing well. Still, their journey got off to a very rocky start. We've definitely made progress in the last 15 years. But even today, still, a lot of families face uncertainty in diagnosis and in measuring treatment outcomes. The 2 things that would help improve this situation. 1, imagine if we had a way to definitively diagnose a 12-month-old, or kids who are even younger. And 2, imagine if we had a better way to measure the effect of treatment without waiting for behavioral change. Thanks to recently developed technology, we are so close to revolutionizing this process entirely. A few years ago on this stage, I presented on Early Point, a promising new device that relies on eye tracking to diagnose autism long before any delays become obvious. We were one of 6 sites to engage in the research to compare Early Point to an in-person evaluation, and the results prove that Early Point is highly accurate. The study will be published soon in the Journal of the American Medical Association, and the device was granted FDA clearance to be used for diagnosis in specialty centers. I'm so proud that SARRC has played a key role in this important effort because it is so closely aligned with our vision, our mission, and aligns with almost everything that we know and believe about autism. Since then, the developers have made significant improvements to Early Point. The original machine is impressive, but it's big and bulky, and for the most part, it's stationary, which limits its utility. The new version is smaller and portable, and it does all of the same things that the previous device did. And now it's just a little bit bigger than a laptop. It plays videos that are rich with social information and tracks where kids are looking, which is cleverly referred to as their looking behavior. The plus signs that you see on the screen are an illustration to show where the child is looking. Then the colors illustrate the comparison of this child's looking behavior to that of thousands of typically developing kids. Here we see the original video on the left, typical looking behavior in the center, and the looking behavior of children with autism on the right. Do you see the differences? Typically developing kids focus their attention in the middle of the screen where the interactions are taking place. Kids with autism are looking at all of the other details in the scene and missing valuable social learning opportunities. Let me explain this concept a little further. This image shows us a 3D illustration of the attention funnel, which represents the looking behavior of typically developing children in one frame in the video. The funnel shows the full range of attention for the majority of typically developing kids. There's some variety, but essentially they're all looking at the same important social information. Now, when we add the looking behavior of children with autism, you can see that they deviate from where the typical attention funnel is. Early Point determines the attention funnel for every frame in multiple videos shown to kids during the procedure. It bases the diagnosis of autism on the number of deviations from the typical attention funnel. Now, beyond diagnosis, Early Point gives a great deal of valuable information, and now that it's portable, we can use it in our center, a school, or even in families' homes, which makes it much easier to do the next exciting study, which is to see if Early Point can detect changes in the looking behavior of children as a result of being in a treatment program. So let me explain this further. From the same procedure it uses to diagnose kids, Early Point generates 3 severity indices that we believe will respond to treatment. The first is the Social Disability Index. This score should decrease if the child attends to more social information in the videos for longer periods of time. The second is the Verbal Ability Index, which should increase if the child attends to more vocalizations. And the third is the Nonverbal Learning Index, which should increase if a child attends to more gestures and facial expressions. And I'm proud to report that SARRC has enrolled the first 5 participants in this groundbreaking study in the last 2 weeks. Thank you. While I'm a big fan of Early Point as a diagnostic tool, I'm really excited about its potential to measure the effectiveness of behavioral intervention because it will likely be able to do it so much sooner than our current methods, which is to wait for behavioral changes. If it can detect changes in these 3 index scores, therapists and parents will know that their efforts are making a difference much sooner, or that they should consider adjusting the current treatment plan to maximize the benefits. And we are getting so close to finally harnessing the power of technology to truly benefit the autism community. So just imagine what life will be like for families in the future. Early Point will be able to virtually eliminate the uncertainty not only associated with autism diagnosis, but also treatment. And having that information earlier will pave a smoother path forward for all families. Thank you.